It's Backstage's second birthday this year, and we are celebrating by highlighting some community members.
Hey guys, I'm Irma and I come from Sarajevo. I have been working as a software developer for around 5 or 6 years. And my journey with Backstage started a year ago when I joined an awesome company called Rodi, which works for unhosted solution based on Backstage. Well, my first contributions were a part of a natural flow when I joined the company Rodi, and I was contributing firstly on some of the plugins that Rodi has, and taking in mind that we have 13 open source plugins, that gives you a bit of an idea how important open source community is to all of us, and how passionate we are about Backstage. Eventually, I started using Backstage and I started realizing how amazing it was. So I wanted to be part of a joint flow of developers around the world who were making their contributions and collaborating into making a product which is something we all love and use. My contributions firstly were throughout Rodi Backstage plugins, where I worked on some of the decisions we made, and I was maintaining and helping the team out. And then, of course, doing some upstream contributions as UI, front end fixes. But recently, I've developed Tech Insights plugin, or its front end part, which is something I'm very proud of as it is something that we all have been very excited about. So we decided to divide the work among us. And I got to work on, as I said, like the front end part of the plugins, which works on top of what my coworkers at Rodi also built. So that is something that I'm extremely proud of. Because why not? There is literally no reason for people not to join. I know it might be a bit frightening for people, especially those who are not used to open source community and that way of work. It might be a bit frightening when you think about a bunch of people looking at your code and giving you comments and discussing it or being part of, like big discussions and decisions. But when you think about it, where else in the world would you get a chance to be part of big decisions? Where else in the world would you have a chance to have that many people look at your code, hear you out, and help you out? And on top of that, I also have to mention, like when you just look at the numbers, Backstage repo has over 2,000 forks at the moment, and there is already over 500 contributors. So keeping that in mind and remembering one of the statistics I read, I think last year, by the end of the 2021, our CEO David made an interesting statistics where he highlighted that the number of unique GitHub users which contributed to Backstage was almost 1,000. That kind of gives you impression how important open source community is, because half of all the PRs merged, or at least almost of half of them, were from upstream contributors. Uh, so that is something that gives me quite a feeling that Backstage is definitely here to stay, and who wouldn't like to be part of that? That is a tough question. I would say I prefer Meetup because that gives me a bit more natural perspective on having interactions with people, asking some questions which are not maybe, screened or expected to. So I would say that I'm more of a meetup person, but I do enjoy good conferences also.